All right. Sing along. Sing along with me. All right. This is Tara Devlin. Nice to see you, everybody. It's Tuesday. I want to move that camera a little bit. Welcome to the show. Tarabuster Tuesdays, Tarabuster Thursdays, and Fridays at 8:30 p.m. on the Political Voices Network. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Hope that wasn't too loud. Thank you, Jim, for being a moderator. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Jim is gardening, and I have a bunch more projects. What is that? More peach and apple trees to plant. That sounds lovely. Isn't that nice? Thank you, Jim. Thank you for your feedback. Looks and sounds good. But isn't that nice to just think about, planting some peach and apple trees? Because that's the purpose of living in a constitutionally limited democratic republic that so many people fought, bled, and died to entrust to us. They were hoping that we wouldn't have to deal with baboonery on every goddamn occasion. Every time we wake up in the morning, sun up to sundown, there's some other offense to decency, dignity, democracy, and humanity that we have to deal with in this country. I don't know how much longer we're going to take it. I've been asking that question since, I guess, since the Bush administration. I've been asking, how much longer are we going to take it? I guess we got a lot more, I guess it's, we got a lot more learning to do because we don't seem to learn from the mistakes of others. We certainly don't learn from our own mistakes. And I guess we have to have our ass beat more. Maybe we'll get unified from it and take back this country. See, okay, let me just begin and say thank you, Charlie, from APS Radio News, because he keeps the show going and growing, along with other patrons at patreon.com/Tara Devlin, and people like Jim in the chat room, keeping the chat room safe, and the Political Voices Network. And if you're in the mood while you're doing your gardening, download APS. Go to APS Radio, download the little app, listen to classic rock and oldies all day long. And there's other APS Radio News has political voices too. I'm on there. So, I think Cindy Sheehan has a show on there, who lost her son in the first Iraq war, if we remember. And okay, so just help Charlie out. He's a great supporter of the show and the great supporter of the community cats I do work with, and he keeps them going too. He bought them winter shelters, and God knows they were needed this year, that's for sure. And finally, spring seems to have sprung a little here in New York, and I was thinking today, though, yes, isn't that nice? Because I had to go out earlier. Boudica needed to go to the vet. She had, it's just a checkup, so nothing wrong there. So they all need to, Tara Jr. had a thing. Ray had a thing, as you know. Francis had a thing. And I needed to get Boudica in there to get her blood work and everything. So it was a rough morning because she didn't like it. She's a very sensitive little girl. She pooped herself. She peeped herself, and poor thing. And when I picked her up, her heart was like going a mile a minute. It just made me really sad to think about, creatures in general. You guys know I don't eat animals, and I'm not trying to put that. I'm not trying to guilt you or anything, but I'm just saying that everyone wants to live, right? We all want to live. We all want to live in peace in this blip of time that we share this planet together, this moment together. That is gonna go by quicker. Some not quick enough, right? Some too quick. And I was thinking today as the spring air hit me, and I was, oh wow, I love spring. But there are many Americans now, there were 8 Americans I know of who wore the uniform, as I did, that they had their last spring. They didn't know it. What about the girls in the Iranian school? And we should have compassion. but not in this baboonish timeline that we're not for maggots. Maggots have no compassion. They're fake Christians. Their Christianity settles upon whether they masturbate or not, or the masturbation habits of their son, or who they hate, which groups they pour their manias on, really. And I thought, what a shame, these 8 American soldiers that won't come home because the baboon made a choice. Good. Now he keeps telling us that, and we know it's a lie. He's an easily manipulated baboon, okay? I know it's the best word to describe him, besides pedo, besides convicted felon, besides tax cheat, besides everything else that he is. Tax cheating, draft dodging, wannabe dictator, con man with a fake university, multi-level marketing, vitamin scam, history of sexual assault, and has no business being in the halls of power. Not at all. Because he keeps saying that other presidents didn't have the balls to do this, supposedly. He's got no balls. He's a tiny little fragile bitch. Send Barron. Where's Barron? If it's so necessary, send Barron. Right? It would be unthinkable in prior generations. All the times that these maggots all long for. They long for the good old days. Like we were talking about with Charles Derber on another show last week. They long for the social and racial and gender hierarchies of the 50s. But they don't long for the top marginal tax rate of 90%, right? Or the 35% unionized workforce. But in another time, it would be unthinkable for a president's son not to put on the uniform and fight in their father's war. And, if it were so necessary to go to war and topple the Iranian regime, and as everyone keeps saying, no, I'm not grieving for the Iranian regime. They're they're just as bad as the Saudi regime, for Christ's sakes, that he likes to genuflect to. So give me a break here. They're in bed. We're in bed with the people who dismember journalists and put women in potato sacks like it's a goddamn Handmaid's Tale. They symbolically annihilate women. I hate that stuff. I hate that. People, whatever. We can have a whole other conversation about that. About covering and burqas, bullshit. It's bullshit to me. It's a human rights violation. If they put men in potato sacks and told them they couldn't drive or participate in life in general, it would be, Amnesty International would be in there. But because it's women, it's a cultural thing. But okay, I digress. But the 8 soldiers who, they don't get to have another spring because they were unfortunately, they were born in the same blip of time as the tax cheating, draft dodging, wannabe dictator, convicted felon, con man with the fake university, the multi-level marketing, vitamin scam, who shared wonderful secrets with a convicted pedophile for 20 years. They shared, it was unfortunate for them that they had to be born in this blip of time with the baboon and 72 million Americans stupid enough to send that thing back into the Oval Office. That's what I can't get over either. We deserve what we get, but within reason, I don't know. If that's how you got, you take the ticket, you buy the ticket, take the ride, or whatever the saying goes. I didn't buy this ticket, neither did you. But I need to point out, shame on everybody who did. Shame on them. Shame on the 6 million Democrats who stayed home. Shame on them. Right? What's your excuse? Genocide Joe. Was that it? You know, we could say everything we can about the Democrats, and we do on this show. That's for sure. But at least you can reason with Democrats. At least you can push the Democrats. At least, right? You can try. They're operating in the boundaries of the system the founders fought a revolution to create and entrust to us. They're operating within the bounds of the Constitution. Which brings me to something that makes me want to pull out my hair. I don't know. I think that's a condition, though. I don't have it. It's called trichomania or something, where you pull out your hair. I don't have that. It makes me want to stab myself in the eyes or with a pencil, something like that. You know, I'd rather... No, I don't want to do any of those things. But I certainly don't want to watch J.D. Vance and Trader Trump cosplay military traditions. All right? What is so... Okay, follow me here. I am the only person talking about this, and I'm just a little Tarabuster over here on the Tarabuster show. So... like and share and subscribe and all that stuff. And there's little Boudica. She's a good girl. And because last night when I was watching the Rachel Maddow show, it drove me mad because I expected her at least to point out the fact that, yes, while everybody's pointing out the fact that the baboon he didn't go to this dignified transfer of service members' remains last night because I don't know, he had some other, he had a fundraiser. That's what it was. He had a fundraiser he went to. And, you know, you got your priorities. And, yeah, he's got a lot of things on his mind, like the drapes and the curtains and the swatches and the ballroom and all of the other shit. And, well, he talked on the phone with Putin, and, you know, I wonder if he brought up the fact that that Putin is giving intelligence to the Iranians, and that's how they're targeting our troops for murder. So, okay. I mean, I guess it's not murder in a war. We're in a war, but... you would think because Trump is like, oh, he likes me, respects me. You know, you roll out the red carpet for the serpent Putin. It doesn't surprise me when I heard that the Army intelligence is saying that that the targets, that the attacks on American service members are so precise that they must be getting inside information. And I was like, of course they are. There's spies all over that place. That fucking bastard's phone is tapped. There's no doubt. There's bugs everywhere. There's no doubt the piece of dirt is talking on unsecured phone lines, and they're all, it's you know, you want to give me a fucking whine about Hillary's server, but her emails, we had to put up with that shit, right? Because she had a server in her house. Well, it had more security than Trader Trump's goddamn iPhone. But, okay, see, different rules for Republicans, as we know. They have an entire propaganda outlet dedicated to them. I mean, this is why we're in this boat, because half the country voted based on the hate and the divisive lies that they were being fed from Fox News. Shame on them. But here's the thing: there is a corporate media, so half the media, and you know, you're looking at the liberal media. This is the liberal media, so thank you for your support. Really, I appreciate it. We got to get those numbers up. We got to keep growing and going and getting the word out, because wherever people go, we want them to encounter the truth, the message. This is the truth that, because we're the real patriots here. We're the ones carrying the mantle of the founders from the revolution. We're the ones capable of functioning in a free, democratic society, multiracial, liberal democracy born from the liberal age of enlightenment that Republicans are trying to destroy. They don't like that system. That's why they want to put in an authoritarian daddy. That's why they're like, daddy's home. Oh, daddy, daddy. Yeah, because it relieves them of the responsibility of being a part of civic life, a part of a community that might be diverse. Oh, gee, you may not, live next door to somebody who has darker pigment. You may, what are you going to do? Oh, it's so fucking scary, right? That's too much freedom for them. There might be a trans child in your kid's school. What are you gonna do? Maybe your kid is trans. I hope so, because maybe you learn something. Republicans only see the light when something affects them directly, of course. But there anyway. Where am I going? The point is, okay. I was watching Rachel Maddow last night, and I expect better of her, I guess. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the liberal media. But it's still the corporate media, because she likes to connect the dots. She likes to put in history and go into, just make all these connections, I guess. That's the best way to put it. And I like to do that too. It's just the way I am. I like to frame it up and put it in context. So they went to the dignified transfer. Last night, there was another service member came home in a casket thanks to Trader Trump's illegal and unconstitutional war based on nothing with no public support. And the MS Now covered it. So, hold on, I'm just trying to get the screen up. And that's the wrong screen. No, it's fine. It's the right screen, just the wrong thingamabob. And, okay, so you guys know I was in the military. I was in the National Guard. I was not like, G.I. Jane or anything, but I served my country in uniform. And it was a good experience, and I don't regret it or anything like that. And I did it because I loved my country. I actually joined the National Guard after September 11th. I wanted to serve my country and my community. Having seen the towers fall with my own eyes in New York, I wanted to do something. I want to be one of those people helping. I wanted to be, when people are fleeing, I wanted to be somebody that could be of use, if something happened. And so anyway, I know not that you need to be a service member to know these things, but okay, I'm calming down. I'm going to write an article about this on the Substack, on the Political Voices Substack, because I want it to get out there. The commander-in-chief is a civilian role, right? So is the vice presidency. And we have been, well, it's not us, it's since Reagan, since Ronald effing Reagan. Let me just fast forward here a little bit. Okay, so here comes the casket. Look at who the fuck is J.D. Vance? Okay, he's standing there. They're all standing in a row. Some are in their civilian attire. And what kind of a stance is this? You see, is that Pete Hegseth? He's standing at attention. They're all standing at attention. But what stance is this with your hand over your crotch, J.D. Vance? Not that, which is fine because he's a civilian. All right? Then here they bring the casket. Who the fuck is he to salute? J.D. Vance is not a member of the military. Neither is Trader Trump, by the way. Since Reagan, they've been blurring the line between the commander-in-chief and the military. The founders put civilian leadership in charge of the military on purpose. That was not an accident. They understood history, unlike Traitor Trump and every other fucking maggot, that's for sure. They understood. Humans have a very long history of an army being under a military general that overturns a government, a democratically elected government. It's another example of this regime blurring the lines between civilian and military leadership. It's stolen valor, for sure. And while everyone pointed to Traitor Trump wearing his tacky USA made in China hat, his merch hat, while giving a salute, no, not a single corporate media outlet pointed out that they shouldn't even be saluting at all. They're using the military ritual space as a stage for their civilian strongman cosplay. And it's corrosive as hell, in my opinion. And so for Rachel Maddow or nobody on the media to point this out at all, to educate the American people, they're not supposed to know this. How would they? Right? Unless you're in the military, but there are regulations. Even Pete Hegseth in this situation should not be saluting because he's in civilian attire. Even if he's I don't even know if he's active. I mean, he's the head of the Department of Defense. There is no Department of War, you stupid baboon, you man-child, ugh. You little boys playing with toys. That's what they are. And we're the toys. But it's the vice presidency and the presidency are civilian offices. And Vance showing up, he goes from crotch hands to salute. He has no right to salute. This is a military honorific that he hasn't earned at all. And let me tell you, we were taught and trained about when and where to salute. But this is what drives me mad. They love their salutes, right? They love their stolen valor salutes. But they don't, when their country called, Traitor Trump's feeties hurt. And, of course, where was J.D. Vance? He was palling around with Peter Thiel, trying to steal the democracy itself from the American people. He never wore a uniform. At all. So what the fuck is he saluting for? You put your hand over your heart, you filthy fascist. Because you know why they're doing it. Because they can't outright put on a military uniform. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried. Right? Like other authoritarians in the past. Even Putin doesn't do that. They know the line. They know they can't go that far. But the commander-in-chief and the vice president, I can hear maggots making a case. So they're saying, oh, well, he's the commander-in-chief. Traitor Trump is the commander-in-chief. Well, what is J.D. Vance, the commander-in-chief junior? There is no there's no argument there. He's not in any way a military anything. So if you're in active duty and you're in uniform and it is appropriate, you salute. You go from attention to saluting, not crotch hands to saluting, but okay. But why? How would he know that? Anyway. They're just stealing the honor that these service members made the ultimate sacrifice for. The honor is theirs, not J.D. Vance's. Talking about the fallen, honoring the fallen. This is taking a somber, it's supposed to be an apolitical ritual into yet another narrative in their cult, in their leader cult. This is what happens in authoritarian regimes. Authoritarians always colonize uniforms, salutes, funerary rituals, because, once the public associates these sacred military images with the leader, with the party, then dissent starts to look like treason instead of normal democratic opposition. I don't know about you. Like, when I see this, I get enraged by it. I'm enraged looking at him doing that, saluting. It's let's put it in context even further. Eisenhower, the supreme Allied commander of World War II forces, he was not just the commander of the American forces, he was commander of every other force, all of us, all the Allies. He didn't salute when he was in his role as the presidency because it was that important a message. There's Army regulation. Pete Hegseth, this is what drives me insane, too. Because, you remember when Pete Hegseth was tweeting at Mark Kelly, Pete Hegseth, or Keg's Breath, really, is not fit to lick Mark Kelly's boots. And he was saying, when I see you, I'm going to do, first thing, a military inspection, because he had medals and they were backwards. He said, no, but they weren't backwards. The picture was a mirror image, and Pete Hegseth is too dumb as a box of marbles to know that. So he shouldn't even be saluting. So, because military regulation 600-25, salutes, honors, and visits of courtesy, lays out when salutes are required and specifically notes that, I'm reading it right from the regulation, personnel do not salute when in civilian attire. I remember that. You're at a parade, the flag goes by. If you're not in your uniform, you put your hand over your heart. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that, maggots? Well, you see, you understand what I'm saying? That's why they do it. That's why they're saluting. And while everyone was losing their minds over Trader Trump's hat, which is, we should. It's a disgrace. We should all be losing our minds over this cosplaying. You go back in other dignified transfers that we've been witness to, the commander-in-chief does not salute. Joe Biden put his hand over his heart. George W. Bush, we didn't have footage. Remember at the time, they were trying to block the footage of fallen service members coming home from Iraq from being on the media. But now this is how the corporate media, when they write the history of this time, the corporate media will not come out looking well. They are, and it really is why we're in an authoritarian coup right now. We're fighting these authoritarian monsters because the corporate media refuses to hold them to account. And this is yet another example. Why wouldn't they point this out? Military etiquette guidance explicitly says civilians should not salute. The standard sign of respect is removing your hat and putting your hand over your heart. What's wrong with that? Well, they don't want to be perceived as civilians. That's what's wrong with that. They want to be the great military leaders, you see. And that's the line that these baboons have, they want to erase. They want to erase the Constitution. I cannot take it with these Republicans, because I'm old enough to remember back in the Obamacare days when we were trying to make sure that Americans didn't have to needlessly die without health care. And the Republicans, when they were called teabaggers, running around with their pocket constitutions, right? Waving the pocket constitution, waving the frickin' pocket constitution that they wipe their ass with regularly. I guess that's why they were waving it around. Maybe they needed to use the toilet. And, there is no regulation about presidents saluting. They just let them do it. This started with Reagan, and it continued, and because we know how Democrats are. It continued as a tradition with Obama on running up the stairs of Air Force One or Marine One, saluting, because they were calling him unpatriotic or disrespectful to the troops. And you know how Democrats are, that they're very easily manipulated by right-wing media. They just like the maggots are, just like teabaggers are. They are, and just like the corporate media is, or are. It's disgusting to me, right? Because it seems to me that they're missing the point. That it's worse. It's worse than the hat. It's worse than than Trader Trump and in the hat. He shouldn't be saluting at all. What are we doing, America? What are we doing? What are we allowing them to do? Why? What is it with the corporate media enabling the madness all the time? This is what they do. We're here because the corporate media insists on making Trader Trump seem like he has any kind of rationale other than, taking over the country like a little plaything. Yeah, the Constitution, laws, tradition, whatever it might be, that's in the way. It's all about money. Him getting his ass kissed. We are all the narcissistic supply of a con man, of a malignant narcissist con man. The regulation says salutes, honors, and visits of courtesy. Service members do not salute in civilian clothes. Civilians do not salute at all. Okay? That includes presidents and vice presidents. You're supposed to stand at attention, remove your headgear, place your hand over your heart. That is the way it is. Because we should be proud to be civilians too. And you don't get to steal military traditions. What are you doing? That's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it makes me want to, I don't know. Makes me want the corporate media. God, I wish the corporate media were the ones sitting here saying, please become a patron. Please subscribe to my Substack. You know what I mean? Because maybe we'd have a shot then. I'm not trying to, pat myself on the back, but why? Why wouldn't they point it out? And all the other things that we have going on, this is a thing. That's important because of what they're up to. They're trying to overthrow the government. And here we go. Here, look, we have another example right here. They can't outright put on a military uniform, but there they are, stealing Valor. What is J.D. Vance doing? Saluting. And like I said, Pete Hegg said he knows he shouldn't be saluting either, but they just can't let anything go by. They can't stop saluting because they think it makes them look tough. And it makes them look like big military leaders, right? Forget the generals. It's generals, they're generals plus, even though that's not the way it's supposed to be. During World War II, FDR and Truman, they consulted with the generals. They would give the generals orders, but they didn't plot military. They weren't part of military planning. That was up to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the military experts. But Trump has repeatedly claimed he knows more than the generals about military matters, right? I don't know. It's like, to me, am I going cuckoo here? Because it's like one of the things with because I talk about the Democrat Party thing, how the Republicans they can't say the name of the Democratic Party. Like, I just want to show you. And to me, that's one of the things that speaks volumes and is important, that the Democrats never, ever correct, and the corporate media lets the Republicans get away with it all the time. They come on their shows and they'll say they'll say Democrat Party, but let the Democrats say Republican Party once and see what the reaction is. See if they can say it twice. By the third time, you know that they would be corrected. They would be stopped in mid-sentence. What are you saying Republican Party for? No, it's only okay if you're a Republican. Then you get to do whatever you want. You get to wipe your ass with the Constitution. You get to blur the lines of military and civilian leadership. You get to pretend you're a big, tough military leader, sending us all to what? To shit. This baboon thinks, what did we do in the last, since they started this illegal and unconstitutional war? Oh, he traded the 85-year-old Ayatollah for one who's like in his 50s? Good job, baboon. See, everything Trump touches, he destroys. It's disgusting. And also, so anyway, that's why I brought it up, because to me, I'm like screaming at the screen, and everybody seems to be cool with it. Like, for example, oh, this is too big. You can't see it. Hold on. This was the headline at what do you call it? At ABC. Nothing about, see, it says Vice President J.D. Vance on attending his first dignified transfer for 6 American troops killed in the war with Iran. That's it. There he is with a fucking salute. Like he's in the military in his, okay, all right. I'm just repeating myself now. But I hope that everybody watching this show will understand where I'm coming from, and please, spread the word here, because it's worse than we thought. This is yet another example of them taking over the country as wannabe dictators, as authoritarian, assholes who want to use us all as their little playthings. This enrages me like you wouldn't believe. Watching J.D. Vance and his salute. I mean, who the fuck are you? And he's not in uniform. You're not in uniform. You're not even a member of the military. There's no Commander-in-Chief Jr. And like I said, the Commander-in-Chief shouldn't even be saluting as well. So, but what do we expect? See, this is what makes me want to pull my hair out. Because we have heard forever and ever that the Republicans love the troops, they support the troops, they back the blue, right? They don't love the troops. They don't support the police, the Republicans. They support the police state, as we see with everything they do. They don't support the troops. That's why I never understood, this whole, the Republicans, people in the military vote Republican all the time. They're so very pro-Republican. Well, that's because of propaganda. Thank you, propaganda, for proving yet again how propaganda works, because people are easily manipulated. Human beings are storytellers. This is how many people, not a lot of people aren't that smart, by the way. And if you inundate them constantly with filthy fascist lies about how Republicans support the troops and the police, and you just poison them with all kinds of fear-based nonsense about their neighbors and everyone else. I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have security and all that. You understand what I mean, though. The Republicans have nothing to offer except fear and division. So they pretend that they love the troops, love the police, while they're the ones defunding the police. And they're the ones who attack the police. Like, for example, after years, on January 6th, this is what, oh God, I can't, every time I think about it, it makes me want to puke, that 72 million Americans voted for an insurrectionist, to send an insurrectionist back into the halls of power, somebody who tried to overthrow the government, right? We all saw that, didn't we? And okay, how dare you vote for them? But Republicans spent 3 years slow walking a simple plaque, put up a plaque for the cops who nearly died defending their lives and their jobs. And then they, because they were sued by the people who were the ones on the front lines. It's so disgusting to me to think that the abuse that the officers, like Officer Fanone and Harry Dunn, that they have to endure from from these maggots who attack them when they were standing in the breach against a mob of fascists and pedos, and we got the receipts to prove it, and America-hating monsters who were manipulated by their chief freak, their chief fascist stolen valor wannabe dictator baboon, sent them to trash, to defecate and urinate in the halls of the citadel of democracy. That says it all. Really, that just says it all about what we're dealing with. And so when I see, like, J.D. Vance saluting, what are you saluting, J.D. Vance? You're saluting, they pretend to love America, don't they? They love the cosplay patriotism, because the real patriotism is beyond their grasp. They are too small to see it or understand it. That patriotism is about not sending people to die for nothing. Patriotism is about respecting your fellow countryman, right? That's the root of patriotism. The word patriotism, patriot, goes back to the Greek. It means fellow countryman. And in other words, you can't say you love your country when you hate just about everyone in it. And that's all they have, is hate, division, real America, we're real America, and lies. Lies. We know that this bullshit is a lie. The war is a lie. Again, that's why, the good news is the American people aren't falling for it, and I don't know how they fell for it on election day, right? But the Republicans, I don't understand. How hard is it for the Capitol Police officers to go to work every day to protect the life of, let's say, Mike Johnson, this unworthy carcass of a man who is nothing, who's a sad closet case, who tracks the masturbation habits of his son because he's Christian, right? But So they put the plaque up finally. They finally put the plaque up, but it was at 4 a.m. and they put it up in a place in the Capitol where civilians don't go, where regular people don't go. So it's not like you'll be encountering it anytime soon. If you want to go there and see it, to honor the people who saved democracy that day. We're in big trouble with these Republicans in power. You understand that, right? I know you do. But by law, you see, there's still, and the only reason little Mike Johnson put the plaque up is because by law the plaque is supposed to be on the west front itself, with the names of the officers who defended the Capitol on it. But Republicans fought that, okay? They fought that too. So the version on the wall, it's such a disgrace, has a little QR code. Let me see if I have it here. Instead of the names inscribed, you can go and look at it with your phone. If you are, I guess, a member of staff, because civilians or tourists aren't there. Let's see. Yeah. That's too small. You see? A little QR code in the corner there. Just swipe your phone to find the names, even though, because it's too much. They could. Someone's fucking ringing my bell. They put they were able to make those plaques. That's what drives me crazy too. That Trader Trump disgraces America every time he breathes. But they put up the plaques. The Joe Biden auto pen plaque, and how these really long plaques of text where supposedly funny enough, every history, every president's history culminates in what they thought of Trader Trump. He really liked Trump, or he was a big fan of Trump. Lies, of course. And according to whatever, on Reagan's plaque, it says, Reagan met Trump and said, you should be president one day. And this is all a bullshit story. That's all Republicans have. I get a lot of bullshit stories from Republicans because doing this, they're not that smart, okay? They have nothing to offer, as we know. And they'll send me memes. They like to argue by meme. They're all graduates, they're probably dropouts of Meme University. And they'll send me a spurious quote. And all it takes is a 2-second Google search. I'm like, that doesn't seem like it's real. And I'll find out that, they made that up. They love to spread spurious quotes, and it's very sad. And it goes to show you how much damage the Republicans have done to this country with their just attacking the pillars of democracy, including the Department of Education, and just setting us up for failure again and again and again. But, so they had enough, I guess, money. I don't even know what the excuse was, but they knew they could make a nice plaque with a lot of names on it. They had a guy, right? The guy that did Trader Trump's stupid, juvenile, stupid plaques where he disgraces the United States in the halls of power. They could have hired that guy to do it. And, it's such a disgrace. I just wonder, thinking about the guy who made those plaques, where do you draw the line? I guess you need a job, but it's sort of like, where's your dignity? Shame on you for doing that. Oh, we're what a great gig we got. We just got this new order from the White House. Amazing, great, good news, everyone. And it's all this shit. And then you get the text. I wonder if they found it funny, or if they agreed or thought, oh, he's great at trolling. That's one thing I see the maggots say. They'll say, Traitor Trump, he's the best. He really triggers those libs. He really trolls everybody. Like, that's what we want in a leader. Well, you do. You want that if you're like 2. You know what I mean? I don't know. I can't really remember 2 years old, but I remember 6, going to kindergarten. And I mean, if you were in a group of other kindergartners, and then you would maybe want the funny guy to be that was usually me, but you want somebody, a real cut up, to be your spokes toddler, right? But not when you're a fucking 80-year-old. You would think, but not the Republicans. This is what I'm talking about. They hate this country, and we better be on our on alert here, because let's not forget, and never, just don't mince words about it. Enough is enough with mincing words. That's why I lay it right out. They lack the maturity to function in a free democratic society. And I do hope that everybody, if you don't agree, like I'm looking on the chat, tell me if you think that it's okay that J.D. Vance if you think that they should be saluting at the dignified transfers. To me, it's another assault on the Constitution that they fundamentally loathe. And they're happy that no one is bringing it up. No one but me. I haven't heard a single other liberal commentator. I'm just this little show here. Hopefully we'll get bigger if you keep subscribing. Thank you for your patronage and your subscriptions and all that. Please, keep it up. But, and I don't know, to me, it's another something we should be concerned about. But it's not that they're doing it too, that no one is commenting on it except me. I'm the only one who's commenting on it, right? So this is just a little old me here, little old Tarabuster show. If Rachel Maddow isn't putting the dots together there, and she loves to put the dots together, what fucking hope do we have? They shouldn't be saluting. And then the next time you see, hopefully there'll be a next time, we'll have a Democratic president, and if they don't salute, what will happen? Sean Hannity or Jesse Waters will have a conniption. Oh, they hate America. But even if they don't point that out, it just makes me wonder if they'll succumb to the peer pressure of the authoritarian peer pressure, rather than point out that no, we're not saluting because I'm not a wannabe dictator. The office of the presidency and the vice presidency are civilian roles. We're not general plus. We're civilians. That's why the founders put that in the Constitution. They enshrined it in the Constitution as a stopgap against authoritarianism. And the fact that our fourth estate, the only profession enshrined in the Constitution as being necessary for a free society, for a free democratic republic, the fact that they're not pointing it out is very concerning to me. It's like, to me, it looks like, why don't he put on the whole full Mussolini and step out on the balcony, and the corporate media say nothing about that too. That's what it seems like to me. Now, the fact that they pointed out the hat, great. What about J.D. Vance in general? So He's not commander-in-chief. If you want to confuse commander-in-chief with being the general, like a 5-star, 6-star general, go for it. If that's what, because obviously this is where we are with the decline of the American Republic. But the founders had just fought a war to stop a king backed by a standing army. So they wrote the Constitution that keeps the military firmly under civilian control. And they made the vice presidency and the presidency civilian offices for a reason. They wanted the elected leaders to direct policy while the professional soldiers carried out orders, not strong men in suits cosplaying as generals. There's a whole history, Chile, Latin America, Africa, Asia. The pattern is clear. The military starts seeing itself as the true guardian of a nation, right? And then Julius Caesar. A little guy named Julius Caesar is the textbook example of exactly what the founders were afraid of. A popular general with his own loyal army deciding that he's bigger than the republic. And that's what we're witnessing now. You see what I mean? So the civilian, we have this strong man, he's not strong, he's a little man baby, of course. But blurring the line between the civilian and the military leadership makes him, he's got the strongest army in the world now under his command. The most lethal army that's ever existed under one baboon. This is what we're talking about. That's why the founders put the presidency as a civilian role and the vice presidency and gave control of war to the Congress. And all of this is being blurred, and no one on the corporate media is making a peep about it. They're saying, well, it's not good that he saluted in his hat. Well, it's not good that he saluted at all. And I'm sick of it. I don't know about you. I'm sick of it. For real. And I'm glad I see some agreement. Yes, thank you on the chat, everyone. Elizabeth and Mark. And Jim, of course. And Mark for being moderators. Jim and Mark. And is Susie here today for being moderators? Oh, God. I mean, it's exhausting living in this fucking thing. Yeah. No president prior to Reagan saluted military personnel. Because they understood they understood what we were doing here. They understood the grand experiment in liberal democracy. And we're in this, we're just adrift. And what really gets me, because last night I watched all the MSNBC shows, and it was like one after the other of trying, except for, well, of course, Lawrence O'Donnell is great. And Rachel Maddow, I enjoy, even though she annoyed me yesterday. And I was watching, what's her name? Stephanie Ruhle. And she was like having a conversation. Well, as if Trader Trump was sincere, like he had a sincere plan and if he was telling the truth. What? Come on. Don't we deserve more respect than that? All right, guys, listen. Thank you for hanging out today. We have more show on Thursday, okay? Right here on the Political Voices Network. Subscribe to my Substack in that thingy, Mababi QR code. That would be great. And we will win. Thank you, Charlie from APS Radio News. We are on the right side of history, decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. We stick together. We win. My name is Tara Devlin. I will see you soon. Okay, so we don't have any guests this week, so it's just us, and we have a show on Thursday and Friday. actually, maybe I was thinking of reaching, and we'll see. I'm not going to say anything, if in case she can't do the show. But let's see what else. What else? Yes, I have to get off the stream because they have another show after me. Thank you, everybody. You're the best. I love you. I don't know what I'd do without you. And yes, Thursday. It's Errol on the chat says, are you going to be on this Thursday? Yes, every Tuesday and Thursday, 1 p.m. Friday at 8:30 p.m. We have our Friday night hangout. And yeah, in the meantime, we just have the shows during the week. But keep on supporting the shows. Let's get my Substack numbers up. That will be very helpful. Thank you very much, guys, for all your support. And yeah, we'll get more shows. I really want to do a daily show at a set time, but I only have, I'm only one person, and I have other shit to do because, I gotta keep the lights on in Tarabuster Studios. So, all right, guys. In any case, I love you. Thank you, Charlie from APS Radio News. Check out APS Radio, classic rock and oldies all day long. And yes, thank you. It is the greatest show. Did somebody say that? Great show. I thought you said it was the greatest show. I saw it in the corner of my eyes. All right, my loves. You're the best. Keep being awesome, like I taught you, and that's what I always say to my niece. So I say it to you. We stick together. We win. I will. I'll see you Thursday. Or maybe before if you're on my Substack, okay? I'll see you soon.